and I'll put it to live before the next one. Hey, how's it going? I'm Ed Parco here with Francisco Rubicava Jr. Thanks for coming in. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Sorry.
Did you have everything worked out last week? No problem. No cancerous.
Yeah, no, right. It was just like this mark, man. It was weird, but
Spider bite.
yeah, something like that. But
so what's new? Anything new? I know you were talking about a new purchase, and that what's unique is we have them around here, but they're kind of like Sasquatch. You just don't know they're around, and you have to go find them. What I mean by that is the new home builds. You have to really go there. One of the guys I knew real well who was working with one of the local companies, he quit and he's now in Georgia. He moved to Georgia because he's just like, they're not building enough. No kidding.
Yeah.
So he's going to places where they're building, and he's from that originally. So.
Like it's difficult because I mean, we were even talking a little bit off air of like really the biggest problem they're having right now are the transformers from like PG&E or the electric companies to just charge up these houses.
Right. The problem is, I talked about this last week, is most people don't realize that's the biggest holdup. It's actually causing a lot of tracks to stop. They won't even make them because it's a year out on getting these transformers. And the problem is we have to get them from overseas, and they're 4 times as expensive of what they're used to. And so they're trying to do the Defense Act, the same Defense Act that to get the PPE stuff, the mask and all that stuff during the pandemic. They're trying to use the same thing for the transformers because they want these grids increased so that we can have all these electric cars, but the electric grids can't handle it. There's companies who want to put in a whole truck line of electric vehicles because they're being mandated to do it. They go to the city and say, I need 6 megawatts or whatever the thing is. And they're like, that's the whole city's only 2. No, we can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a challenge that, you just have to be cautious of when you're going to these new builds, like check in and make sure that, or ask them, just ask where they're at and how accurate their days are. Because I mean, we were told we were going to be closing in March, and it is the end of September now.
Right. And the house was built, I assume, the whole time.
Yes.
They were just waiting for the transformer.
Exactly.
Right. So that loan should have been just sitting there. Only thing that needed to be done is adjust the rate, extend the lock, and because appraisal would have been done showing that was complete. The only thing that you don't have is the occupancy certificate because of the power.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that ends up still causing like a holdup, if you will. And with that, it's like you're saying, I mean, doing like a rate lock, but then who's going to pay it is the question, right? Like
the borrower.
Exactly. And that's the thing is it's just
the rate lock. Usually you can lock it for up to 6 months, but most of the time, and in this market, you would have wanted to do that because a year ago at this time we were 6.5, where today we're almost 7.5.
Right. Well, that's where the issue comes from too, because it's like if everything would have been as stated on their dates,
but they're a builder, they don't have to.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's why, we wanted to make this episode is just so that, you guys could cover your butts, because it's hard. I mean, it's like what I was explaining to Ed, off air, was that these people essentially went from like a 5 to 6% interest rate to like 8 in that time frame from March to now, because of the way that the interest rates did rise. So had the house been done, they would have been at a much better payment.
Yes, they would have been. But it's not the builder's fault there's no transformers. Yeah. And it's not the buyer's fault. They didn't do anything wrong. But the issue, what I'm saying is, if they want them to close, all of a sudden they tell them, we need you to close by this date. Whoever your lender is, they needed to make sure that everything was ready to go all the way through. They can't just all of a sudden, okay, let's do it now. Right. And that's why new builds are totally different than regular financing. It's totally, you have to do the appraisal, and then you have to do a reinspection once the house is done. This could have been done. All that, and all they're waiting on is the go ahead and sign loan documents and close.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest issue they're having is the rate increases could have been causing additional time periods, because now the loan estimate's so much more expensive than it was before. It raised they have to wait so many days because it was up more than a quarter, and that whole thing. There's just so many things that it can be.
Yeah. No, and it's, I mean, again, like even at times, like lack of communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was another thing too, that there were a little bit of struggles. And with that, it's like then like you said, right out of nowhere, it's like, hey, we need to close, and then everyone's like off racing. So it's kind of, it's difficult. I know a lot of builders offer, like at times too, like some of those incentives, right, where they will give a long-term rate buy down, or not a rate buy down, but like a rate lock.
You can do up to 6 months easily.
Yeah.
But the problem is it costs. It's not cheap. But in that market, it would have been much better.
Yeah. No, because that's the thing too, is like even just to extend for like 6 days, it costs almost like $3,000. Like it's expensive.
Shouldn't cost $3,000 to. You're talking the builder cost, what the builder's charging you, not the interest rate.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful here, because when you say to extend, we're all thinking, because we're talking rate, the cost of the rate for 6 more days. Now that just depends on anywhere from could be $50 to $200 depending on what that interest is. Right, for the loan. But you're saying the builder has a per diem that says, if you go over these dates past what we told you, this is what's going on. Well, you shouldn't have that if it was just told you to close by this Friday. But if they're seeing that your in-house lender doesn't know where they're at, and they're not going to close on time because of them, that's why they might be coming back and penalizing you. And I'm not saying your lender doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's usually why they come and want to slap somebody.
Yeah. No, and it's harsh, because then it all gets pinned on the buyer. Then it becomes the buyer's cost. So it's like it's difficult. But at the end of the day, I mean, new builds, they're still good options depending on where it's at and everything. I mean, we a lot of the times people say, I mean, yes, it's a sacrifice where, their lots are getting smaller and smaller, but depending on the build, I mean, some of them do offer nice warranties and things like that too.
Well, they have to have a warranty because they're a new build.
Yeah.
Up to 10 years.
No. And that's like kind of a peace of mind. I mean, I always tell people, I think for the most part, it's like the convenience and say, so like you have something that's completely brand new and certified, if you will.
And so my wife bought her house brand new, and it flooded the downstairs bathroom because they didn't put a wax ring in the toilet upstairs.
Oh.
So I don't. Yeah, you can say it's amazing, but here's the problem: you got to spend another $25,000 in the backyard to make a backyard. You have, and I think one of your issues originally on yours, why there was a problem, is because they were including the solar into the purchase price of the property, right? And then the appraisal didn't come in right. Well, there's a lot of places that they don't do it that way because the value could not come in and they don't want to include it. Plus, solar is supposed to be non-taxed. If you include it in the price of the home, you're technically going to be paying property taxes on it.
Right.
Technically.
No, you will. Well, it's like, and even with, like even with the solar, like a lot of places do kind of make it where it's some builders will even just bite it, right? And just like offer it. Like it's already there.
Well, they have to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no new home can close without solar.
Right.
So someone has to either lease it, buy it, or they have to include it. Yeah. There's only 3 ways they can do it.
Yeah, and then buying it outright.
If I was a builder, I would set up a program, because there is this program that they leased it to everybody. They make the money off the lease also.
Yeah, solar in itself, like, because I have solar, right? And I got hit with the huge true-up bill.
What true-up? What do you mean?
Like the solar true-up bill is essentially like, you at the end of the year, they're going to go ahead and they're going to take in pretty much what is calculated is how much energy is produced, and then they kind of offset it with like what you spend, right? So a lot of the times it's like your monthly bill is really cheap, but at the end of the year, you get hit with that difference, if you will,
of what you used and what you gave back to them, difference, that kind of thing.
Right. It's like,
yeah, but your solar wasn't working for a while.
So that's why I have been, back and forth with the said company. I don't want to say anything, any names, but yeah, with this company, I mean, they charged me like a huge true-up bill, and I called them and I'm like, look, I will gladly pay this true-up bill when my panels are fully functioning, because that's the purpose of it, is that, I'm paying the true-up bill because I'm saving money monthly, right? But I wasn't saving money monthly. I was still paying the regular bill on top of it, paying the solar bill for panels that weren't working. And then I go back to him and I said, hey, all that I asked them was answer me this question, right? And I said, if I didn't have solar panels on my house, would I receive a true-up bill? And they said no. So I said, okay, I technically didn't have solar panels that whole time. Why am I paying this true-up bill? And again, it's like I
What did
told
they
them.
say?
They said they're essentially
let me
telling
get the
me
supervisor.
not even that. They tried telling me that I was wrong. So I kept demanding, for a higher up, and I still haven't gotten a call back. But I mean, am I not going to pay that true bill and then get late charges from PG&E? Like, no, I paid it, but it's something that like now I'm currently like trying to get, refunded, and it was like a $4,000 true bill, and they were like, oh, we can give you 180 back. I said no, like that's not
180 back.
$180.
That's from not PG, but the other company.
The solar company.
Yeah, I know. And I think you need to do is I'm going to charge you for not fixing. You need to get an attorney involved.
Yeah.
You're at that point now, and I'm not trying to be but it's ridiculous because it's been months.
Yeah.
As long as you've owned that property, we had issues because they did the roof wrong. They messed up the roof with the solar panels, and they came out and fixed it, messed it up again.
Yeah.
And then they weren't working. Dude, there's got to be something you can do.
No, yeah, it's been
$4,000 true bill. That's ridiculous.
$4,000 true bill when they weren't even working. Like that's what I told him. I said, you think it's probably because it wasn't producing, that you guys are just running off of that? But that's what was crazy to me.
I don't understand why you have to pay. That means you didn't pay anything per month.
No, but I did.
PG&E bill.
My PG&E bills during those times where the panels weren't working were like $350, $400 a month, right?
I would go to PG&E directly and talk to them and say, hey, here's the deal. I don't understand with this. When I was paying this much per month, my solar panels are not working. And why do I have to pay this?
Yeah.
And you got pictures, don't you, of them when they had them off the roof and then they're not working, right?
Yeah. I mean, not even just off they were working while they were not working while they were connected. They were supposed to be working. They were connected and everything, but it was the converter that was broken for months, like from September until like May.
I would go to PG&E to get help on that because they could help you on that. Maybe give you a credit for so many months going forward, but tell them this is an issue. How do you resolve it? And then go get a different company to fix your stuff and then take the other one to court.
Yeah. No, it's been a hassle
because you're over, now you got a $4,000 bill that you can go after them for, plus all of the other issues with the roof and everything else that they did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to keep beating something, but here's what we're getting at is ground mounted solar is probably better for most people. If you're going to have solar, make sure it's working from day one. If you're going to have a true up bill, see, we're at MID. It doesn't matter if you have solar, you don't get anything for it.
That's cool.
Right. So that's why you see a few places with those Tesla batteries that are $5,000 to $10,000. And it's like, really? Why don't they even have solar? Because it's going to take you forever to pay that back on that solar bill.
No, yeah, and again, they're essentially careless about it. So it's, I mean, we could just label this whole episode of just being cautious, like always, really doing your homework.
But understand that there's a transformer, issue right now. So new home sales probably are not going to close like they thought they were going on time if they don't have that in place. So first statement I would do is when you go to write a contract and you're signing it, you ask them, how are you on power? Is your will this close on time because you have the transformers coming in, or is there an issue? And if they say no, that's all taken care of, we already have it there, it's going to close on time, right? But if they say, well, we're waiting on them, all right, can we put in there, if the transformer is not available at this time, you guys are going to help us with this rate lock or whatever. You follow me?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you didn't do your job. This is unusual shit.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So these are what we're saying is two things. Solar, is it included in the price? What happens if the value doesn't come in? And also, if the transformers aren't available, what can you do, and what can they do for you?
Right. Yeah. Right. No. And be like resilient, when you're asking for these things. Because
that's why you're supposed to have an agent.
Yeah. No. And
with you. But most of the time they just like sign the book. Okay, here's your money.
Right. No, and that's the thing too, is like, depending on the company or whatever, like you essentially need us to be like hounding them.
Right. Well, that's why they give it to you so you can do that hounding.
Yeah.
All right. Francisco, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. And if we can help you, reach out. Say goodbye.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. And thank you, Ed, for having me on the show. If you need any help, please feel free to reach out. Phone number is 209-493-2400.